not alone on your journey. Listen in to the Unshakable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lisa Beltz. Twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Remember, God can't steer a parked car, so step on the gas now with Lisa and let Him do the rest.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Wednesday, March 23rd already. I can't believe we are into spring, but I am more than ready for it. And so my special guest tonight is somebody very important to me. This is Jessica Santos. And Jessica, take just a minute and describe your skill sets and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Lisa. My name is Jessica and I'm a nurse practitioner. I am certified in functional medicine. I'm also a member of the International Society for Environmentally Acquired Illness. And so that means that I see patients across the continuum of the lifespan and just about any disease process, any health concerns, and I help them get well.
She does, and I am one of her patients. That's how Jessica and I met. We've been working together since a year ago, January. And I have to tell you just up front, my health has changed dramatically for the better in this last year, and we're not done getting me well yet. So one of the things we're going to touch on today is mold toxicity. And I am just starting a mold detox program, thanks to Jessica. And so we'll touch on that just a little bit. And so for those of you who've been following my show, Q1 of this year, we've been talking about foundations. So we've got foundation, frame, and the finish. And so part of your foundation is your health. And so today we're talking about unshakable health. And I was sharing with Jessica a year ago, or a little over a year ago, there were little things that I simply was so fatigued physically and so exhausted that I just didn't have the energy to do. It was little things like, cleaning the dog dishes, even some days unloading the dishwasher. Fast forward 15 months, and through the work that I've done with Jessica's guidance over the last year and a little more, I have energy, I have mental clarity. I am probably healthier all over than I've been for, and I'm not exaggerating, probably 25 years. It has made a profound difference in my life. So I am indebted and grateful. So one of the things we want to talk about tonight is the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine. Let's hear your take on that.
Yeah, and first, before I jump in, I want to say what I want to illuminate on is the fact that you said the work that you've been doing. Okay.
Yeah.
My guidance.
Yeah.
So I want to put that on you for the work that you've done and the commitment and the dedication that you've shown to getting your health where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's functional medicine. Functional medicine is root cause medicine. And that means we're figuring out your why, your WHY. How many times have you heard me say that?
Yeah.
Right? Figuring out what is the cause or cause is of your dysfunction or your dis-ease, okay? And so if somebody comes in and says that they have headaches, there are 15 different reasons why somebody might have a headache, right? It's not simply that they need more Tylenol or ibuprofen or some pharmaceutical drug. It's a symptom. It's your body waving a red flag saying, we have a problem. And if we listen to that and we ask the right questions, we can figure out why you're having your headaches. Then if I can figure out why you're having them, then I can figure out how we make them go away. Okay. Yes. And I think for me, that's the big difference as a functional medicine practitioner is in conventional medicine, where I spent the first portion of my career. I've been a nurse practitioner for 16 years and the first half of my career I spent in family practice and pediatrics and urgent care mostly.
Okay.
And so my job there was to figure out what was wrong and what that meant and give you a prescription to make it better. And I got to a point in my career where I felt like I wasn't getting anybody better.
Mhm.
You know, you
Yep.
came in and let's say you had a laceration on your face. I could sew that up and,
Sure.
fix your broken bone. And I made a difference that way.
Yep.
But I feel like in conventional medicine, where what I was lacking is I wasn't healing anybody.
Mhm.
I wasn't giving you answers.
Yep.
I was hearing your concerns, like we're trained to do, is hear your concerns, figure out what labs you need, and if they're abnormal, make the diagnosis and what drug do I give to treat it. Treat it, not fix it.
Mhm.
And that's the difference. We're looking at root cause so we can figure out how to reverse the health concerns that you're having.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You know, and being a programmer, analyst, project manager, we do a lot of root cause analysis on different things. And the idea of applying root cause analysis to your physical self makes so much sense. Now, another thing that I really love about functional medicine is it addresses the whole person.
Yes.
It is, and, you know, the little graphic that I had for the show tonight talks about spirit, soul, and body.
Yes.
So talk to me just a little bit about how functional medicine looks at you as a whole person.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think what we look at in from a functional medicine standpoint is, what is functional medicine? We just have a bigger toolkit, right? So
Yeah.
we look at, teachings from Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine and herbology, homeopathy, vitamin, nutrition therapy. We still use medicine,
Yeah.
right? When it's indicated. We haven't thrown away our prescription pads. So why is functional medicine different? We're looking at the mind, body, spirit. And in Ayurveda, it's believed that your soul is in every cell in your body.
Mhm.
And if your soul is diseased, you will experience dis-ease,
Yeah.
right? And I use the word disease and not disease, right?
Mhm.
Because dis-ease is a symptom, right? Whether it's your blood sugar being high or your joints aching or an autoimmune disease being diagnosed, we can reverse that.
Yeah.
And that's something that to start, you have to believe that it can happen.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think it's so important. If you think back to the first time we met, our first visit was an hour long.
Yes.
When was the last time you ever spent an hour with your provider?
Never. Never.
On average, the typical medical visit is about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
That's time for me to walk in and introduce myself and hear your concerns and review your medical history, check your body, review some labs, write some prescriptions, and get out the door. If I'm lucky, I can do that in 7 minutes. So, I'm not treating the patient in a setting like that, but in functional medicine, I'm able to sit down and we look at something called the matrix. You don't know that, but I do.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the matrix. And in the body of the matrix, I'm looking at all the different things that are happening in
Okay,
your
I
body.
gotta tell you, I flashed to the movie The Matrix.
Yeah.
It's like you, me, and Keanu Reeves,
Yep.
right?
Hey. Sign me up.
Sorry.
So, it's all good. So when we're looking at the matrix, we're looking at things like digestion and assimilation and energy and communication.
Yeah,
hormone
problems and
balance.
all those.
Yeah, right. So we're plotting. You don't know it, but that's what I'm doing. I'm plotting your concerns on the matrix and I'm seeing where the major imbalances are.
Mhm.
You know what's in the middle of the matrix? Spiritual,
Mhm.
Emotional, neurologic, right? Those
Yep.
sorts of things.
Yep. That
And
makes sense.
Yeah, and the things that are at the bottom of the matrix, we're looking at lifestyle. Okay, so we're looking at nutrition, sleep, relationships, stress. Okay, we're looking at all of the things that we're that go into whether we're experiencing health or disease. Okay.
That's really good.
And so I think that is kind of the crux of when we're looking at a person. I'm not just looking at, again, let's use the headache as an
Mhm.
example. Is it a tension headache? Is it a migraine? Are you grinding your teeth at night because of your stress?
Right.
Do we have muscle tension because you're stressed because you have relationship issues or your work is stressful? Or are you Are you feeling isolated? Are you alone? Some of the most recent research when we're looking at wellness and our chances for longevity and a long, healthy life is looking at, I think it was the blue zone where they went around and they looked at the people who lived the longest beyond 100, right?
Okay.
And they looked at their health, and we went around the world and looked and saw who lived the longest and who lived the healthiest. And what were those
Correlations,
factors, right?
yeah, what's the
Was it
correlation?
diet? Was it
Yeah.
clean air? Was it water? Was it their exercise?
Uh-huh.
No, it was their community.
Really?
It was their
Wow.
interpersonal relationships.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so you think when we're looking at vital signs, we're looking at your blood pressure and your heart rate and your respiratory rate, your temperature. We need to be asking. We need to be asking about connectivity and isolation and things like
That's
that.
fascinating. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and well, you filled out our paperwork
Yeah.
coming in, and
Yeah.
how long did that take you? About an hour?
Oh, longer.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
do we ask? Are you married? Do you have children?
Mhm.
Do you have good support? Is there family nearby? We want to know those things. Whether you're part of a church or a yoga community, or do you volunteer? We're wanting to look at what is feeding your soul, right?
Yeah.
Because if your soul is in every cell in your body, which I believe, if your soul is not experiencing wellness, neither will your body.
Yeah, no, that's really, really true.
Yeah.
That's really true. So I guess one of the questions I've got for you, Jessica, is there anybody that functional medicine is more indicated for versus somebody that you would say is not an ideal patient?
That's a good question. A patient who wants to get well,
Uh-huh.
a patient who wants to find answers, a patient who is not satisfied with the status quo of a pill for an ill.
Uh-huh.
You go to your doctor with a problem and their only response is, well, here's this prescription. Those are the ideal candidates for somebody who is looking for more, right? I want a deeper dive, I want answers, and I want to feel better. And I think we all do. And so I don't think that there is a person who functional medicine wouldn't help.
Yeah.
Right?
Now for me, functional medicine is my PCP, my primary care provider. Does functional medicine work for, expecting moms and men and again, it covers the entire gamut, right?
It does. So I see I have babies. I have end of life. I'm happy to be part of that, all walks of the journey for our patients. Expectant mothers, nutrition is so important.
Yeah.
Managing their stress is so important. Managing their emotions and keeping up with keeping their host important for their very special guest, right? It's so important.
Yes, my daughter's 4.5 months along right now. So yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah, so that it's so important. Everything that we're putting into our body, whether it's food, toxins, media, what we're putting in matters.
Yeah.
And what we need to get rid of, at certain times of our life matters too, like toxins and stress and worry and fear. So, there really isn't a person that functional medicine doesn't help. Patients may need to be under the care of a specialist, but we work very closely with other providers to help provide the care that they don't.
Okay.
Right.
So we're going to take a quick break right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about mold toxicity and some other specifics. Come right back with us. Welcome back. We are talking about functional medicine with my special guest, Jessica Santos. And Jessica, one of the other questions that has come up is, what are the common things that you treat? What kind of things do you see most frequently? If somebody wanted to get started with a functional medicine provider, where do they start?
Oh, that's good. Great questions. Let's answer that one first.
Okay.
So the Institute for Functional Medicine is the certifying body in which I've been certified through. And so I've received my training through them, my certification through them, and I continue my continuing education with them. And on their website, ifm.com, I believe it might be org. Sorry, I should know that. I think it's ifm.com. You can search Find a Provider. And that's find a provider in your state, somebody who's been certified. You can choose if you want to make sure that the person's already certified. You can choose if, that doesn't matter if they're working on their certification, you can look for that too.
Okay.
And you can search by provider type if you would like a physician or a nurse practitioner, or it doesn't matter. You can search through that. So that's the first kind of generic way to search for a functional medicine provider. I think a lot of people, it's word of mouth, right?
Yep, it is. That's how I found you.
Yeah, and how many people have you told, right? So
a bunch.
Yeah. So, and at the end in the link, you'll see my social media websites, things like that. If you'd like to get a hold of me personally and become a patient, it's illuminatefunctionalwellness.com, and the same for Instagram and Facebook. So what do we treat? Everything. So, a lot of times people will come in and say, I don't have any problems. I just want, someone who is a little bit more functionally minded, who's going to listen to nutrition, be a little bit more proactive, preventative, so that I don't have a disease. We have patients that are very commonly coming in for chronic fatigue, acne, gut issues. So things like irritable bowel syndrome, food sensitivities, gastritis, autoimmune disease is huge. And many patients have autoimmune diseases, and so many more have autoimmune diseases that haven't been picked up yet because we're not checking, or conventional medicine isn't checking. I am.
Exactly.
So, I like to get the data up front so that we're able to kind of see what we're working with. But we see a lot of autoimmunity. We see a lot of neurologic issues, and a lot of emotional behavioral issues across the lifespan. So we see children with diagnoses as severe as PANS and PANDAS, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, and parents and patients want a solution.
Absolutely.
We want to give our children and ourselves the best chance for a happy, healthy life. So
I'm going to take us down a rabbit trail here. So ADHD, ADD, how much of that can actually be helped with functional medicine?
All of it.
Really?
And here's the thing.
A
diagnosis, you guys, is a constellation of symptoms that meets the criteria to make the diagnosis. It doesn't tell me why you have it, right? So any complex chronic disease, I'd like to say any, can be reversed or at least tamed, right? And we can tame it through understanding the underlying physiologic processes that have gone wrong. So ADHD, for example, is neurologic inflammation. Why? 9 times out of 10, these children are picky eaters, and they're eating a ton of colors and dyes and gluten and sugar and packaged and processed foods. I have personally seen with my own eyes a patient with autism, for example, who is nonverbal, 5 years old, not speaking, come together and string together a sentence after doing nothing more than changing their diet for 30 days.
Wow.
Okay. Not to say,
I'm just covering
I know,
chills.
right?
That
It
just
matters.
gives me chills.
It matters. And so people will say, oh, it doesn't matter what they eat. Providers in healthcare will say it doesn't matter what they eat. And I honestly will tell you, I was a culprit before I found functional medicine. I actually had patients ask me 15, 16 years ago if it was important to eat organic. And I said, no, I didn't know better, right? So we do better when we know better.
Exactly, Maya Angelou.
Exactly. So, when we're looking at ADHD, is it screen time? Is it diet? Is it toxins? Are there chronic infections? And yes, right? All of those things are implicated, and it takes the appropriate questioning, the appropriate mom's history. What was mom's health like before she was pregnant with you, right? And what was your childhood like? Were you born vaginally or C-section? Were you breastfed? Were you bottle fed? Did you have lots of ear infections? Were you on lots of antibiotics? Those are the things that matter.
Complete picture. You're painting a complete picture again of the whole person. and then getting to root cause.
Absolutely.
So how much of those same things apply to adults with ADD?
Same thing. And you'd be, the other thing that I see many times with ADD or ADHD is head injury. You'd be impressed how many adult onset ADD or ADHD comes after a car accident.
Really?
Or comes after that, I hate to say this, football injury or wrestling injury or mountain biking injury or whatever. And now I have the symptom, and it's going back and finding what is causing the inflammation.
What triggered it?
Exactly. We're always asking, when did you last feel well? Right? And because we want to know what the trigger is. We're looking at antecedents, triggers, and mediators. What was your terrain like before the thing happened? Not everybody has that one triggering thing. And then what is keeping you from being well? So it takes the, I say this is CSI Miami, right?
Yes.
I'm an investigator. I feel like, one of my first functional medicine cases was 2 poster boards up on the wall. Every single message that came through the office, every single visit, every single medicine, every single response to what we did before we were able to say, aha, this was it, right? And it was hours of putting all of these things together to find her root cause. It's not always easy.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's not
amazing.
easy, but it's so worth it when you do.
Yeah. So I know we're getting a little bit short on time. So one of the things that we found that I'm dealing with personally is mold toxicity.
Yes.
And so this is very near and dear to my heart, because in doing my research, 25% of the American population has mold toxicity and doesn't know it. Talk to me just a little bit about symptoms.
Oh gosh.
How do people kind of go, oh, that might apply to me?
Okay. Well, I would, that may be the current percentage, but given what I do, I'd have to say it's probably more than the than 25%. 25% of the population actually has a genetic vulnerability, meaning that they are, from an immune system standpoint, from a genetic standpoint, unable to clear mold toxins. And mold is everywhere. Okay. So you don't have to live in a moldy house that's dilapidated and broken down in order to be affected by this. It can be anywhere and everywhere. And I have a feeling we're probably going to have another talk just on this alone.
Yep, I think so.
But there is not a body part that's mold does not affect, mold toxicity. That's what we're talking about. Mold secrete toxins that we breathe in or ingest, and they make us sick. So starting from the top down, neurologic symptoms, brain fog, headaches, right? Memory concerns, mood disorders, okay? Chronic fatigue,
Muscle weakness,
muscle joints and pain, aches and pains, lung respiratory issues, shortness of breath, hormone imbalances, okay? We'll see cardiovascular system issues like inability to maintain blood pressure and heart rate. There's a symptom called, or a diagnosis called POTS. And if you've got it, you know it. There really isn't a symptom that doesn't lead me back to thinking about mold, but we're looking at the constellation of symptoms. We're asking the right questions. We're looking at everything else. And honestly, mold, what I've come to learn is in the situation where a patient has mold related illness, it is the most upstream thing that I cannot get you well unless we address.
Yep. You know, and looking back at my life, I would never think that I lived in a house that had mold, but, and I can't remember, I know I've got black mold in one of whatever the other one is. And so I suspect that I've had this for years. And so we talk about that the body secretes it so to protect your organs. So there's a whole process we're going through to release that slowly,
carefully. Yes.
So again, if somebody's going, hey, I've got some of those symptoms, what do?
Come find me.
Yes.
The International Society for Environmentally Acquired Illness.
That's a mouthful.
Yep. So we call it ICI, but that is where you want to go. ICI.gov. gosh, I should know these. It's either .org or .com.
Okay.
But you can go on there and you can find a provider locally who is trained. Not all functional medicine providers are trained to treat mold. So most of us that do are going to be trained and certified, or not certified, but trained and affiliated with something like the ICI. And that is where we can find a provider and get more information.
So tell us one more time, how do we find you?
Okay, illuminatefunctionalwellness.com.
So illuminate, ILL.
Yes.
UMINATE. Okay,
Illuminate functional wellness. I'm shining a light in the dark.
Yes,
so
there you go.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
And that's also on the socials, Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Jessica, thank you so much for being on here with me. And I do think we're going to have her come back and do another segment just on mold. So everybody, I hope this has been educational and helpful. Go to the website if you have any further questions, and I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Unshakeable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lisa Beltz. Tune in twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Remember, God can't steer a parked car, so step on the gas now with Lisa and let Him do the rest.